Okay, I said I would check back in with you guys as I worked through this. I have simplified it slightly. Again, I added that 18-inch pipe. I retained the 76mm pipe that I had originally. However, once I put everything together, I had to shorten it slightly. So that's about 1.5 inches of material I took off the end. So whatever 1.5 inches less 76mm is. But that got him lined up where he needed to be. So I cut off both ends. That also helped work with these new brackets because, oh my goodness, these clamps. They were exactly on the money. See, the range that they had was 76 to 84 or 84 to 90. I'm like in between. You notice all of my old brackets are 65 to 89. So really what I probably needed was a 76 to an 89 or a 78 to an 88, something like that. You know, I'm kind of in between sizes. So there's been a lot of fighting and a lot of cussing. So I didn't include you guys as I was installing everything because it was not bing bang boom, super easy, super fun, super straightforward. There was a lot of on off, on off, on off. But what we did do, and if you wanted to go with this kit and just not use this garbage that it came with, that stuff is if you look in here, you see you've got these little black wafers. And those two little black wafers separate from one another. When that nut comes off and that Allen screw comes out, those both fall out. And they're designed to go into place with these little plastic fingers. So this turns into a nightmare just to deal in and of itself. Then you add in that you have these, you see these 3 lines that are inside? You got an outer, an inner, and then this other one on the outside. This tallest piece actually sits in between your 2 pieces. And this outer ridge hooks into this trough on each of those metal pieces. And then you have this little rubber gasket that goes on the inside valley trough, whatever you want to call it, of each of those pieces. So, and it sits in the smooth portion between the high ridge and the low ridge. So that kind of all locks it together. So you've got to be able to center all that, lock it all in here, lock this piece on, throw these 2 little wafers in here, run the screw and the nut in. Now, can you imagine taking that to a shop and having them deal with that at all? They would either upcharge you or pieces would get lost and stuff would get broken. This being flimsy plastic, I just decided to eliminate them altogether. I don't want this headache anymore. Not to mention, you know, I already told you when I got the kit 2 of these were broken. Well, another one broke just in fiddling with things. And I'm gentle on this stuff. So I'm down to only 5 of these little rubber band O-ring things, and all it takes is a little bit of heat and time and they're going to disintegrate. So the first time you have to take anything apart to work on it, which is what we had to do. We had to take it apart to get to the timing belt. So I don't wish that on anyone. However, if you wanted to utilize the kit, delete this stuff. Just save yourself the headache and don't even use it. But you can use these pipes. You can very easily use this for your connector for the airbox sensor. I mean, I just wasn't pleased with the construction. I thought it was, you know, just subpar. But you can use it. Nothing saying you can't use it. I just pop one of these out and replace it with a grommet. That's what I did on mine, and the sensor fit in just perfect. You know, as I explained before, I like this because the finish was nicer. I mean, granted, I'm still using that piece, and you could get away with using that short piece and, you know, everything would be up a little bit, so I don't know where your filter would end up sitting. I wanted the filter just so in here. I mean, you'd have a little bit of extra inches to play with, so conceivably you could use that little short piece, measuring in at roughly 4 inches. So you could use any 4-inch coupler there, the blank one from the kit, like I did. I did that because the U-shaped or horseshoe-shaped coupler was not long enough, and I wanted this all to be even, and I didn't want this sitting up on top of the intake. That's just my personal preference. It worked with the way that I, all my bracing and bracketry, this setup worked for me. So I took that small 4-inch piece and cut this and put this in there. Although you guys know originally I did it with that, and then had that crazy looking hose clamp set up because I ran out of pieces, which is fine. It just didn't look the best, and it was a dirt magnet, and I wanted something cleaner. So I opted to install that blank 4-inch one here. I had to reutilize my original hose clamps. Here I needed the next size up. So those will get redone. Here I needed the next size up, so that'll get redone. Here I needed the next size up. This works, but there's not a lot of wiggle room to work on the car. And as far as this piece here, I did reutilize everything as before. Now you may notice there is a discrepancy in the length of these. I did cut off this length from when I originally purchased it because everything was symmetrical. But running it symmetrical put me into the fuse box. So I had to cut this little bit more off because inserting this piece pushed this over versus using that aluminum can. Or steel can, whatever it is. So I had to shorten it again to clear the fuse box. So we're just like on the money right there, as you can see. So I'm good there, but those hose clamps wouldn't fit. So there's that. But it put a little bit of extra strain on this guy. He was originally further over. So what I ended up doing is I went down here to where he connects to the intake. That's his other end, and I just slipped that hose clamp off that is connected to the intake itself, and I trimmed off about, I don't know, maybe 1 inch or so, about the width of this sensor here, off the end, and then reinstalled it, and that brought everything back to where that clamped in just fine for me. Yes, it does take a little bit of wiggling, which is again why I want a larger hose clamp here, because there's not enough wiggle in this. I'm at the very, very end of this just to get it on and off. And yeah, that's going to be a problem in the future of trying to do maintenance on the vehicle, so that one will get upgraded. So I definitely at least need 4 of those dang things. A 5th one probably in the larger size. We'll give it a shot. These guys I worked out okay. So again, sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around. I did use that 4-inch. I used the big curve and the small curve. I used the Spectre, however you say it, unit with the plugs, but you could use that one that's in the kit. Or here, this one. You could use it, so you wouldn't have to buy this piece separate. And then I used this piece of mine, that's 76 millimeter, but I did trim him. That allowed me to utilize these guys on these ends, these clamps that I had purchased. So, and they work great on this, by the way. It's just, these pieces are just a wee bit larger with the hose put in there, the silicone hose coupler. And it makes it just a little too tight to be comfortable dealing with. So anyway, I will address all of that at a later date, but for now it works. This works. I just kind of wanted everything to blend a little bit more and not peel your eyes away with red every which where. You know, him, maybe I'll strip his finish. I don't know if he's aluminum or steel. If I find out he's aluminum, I could strip all this off and polish it out, and then he would basically disappear. But I need to verify what material is he. For now, I'm just going to let him be. Yeah, I've already got this part set up. So basically, you're going to pull your headlight, and you've already pulled your factory silencer box from under this area. And then we just kind of drop the filter in. And he's just a 3-inch. And like I put the Hydro Guard on him. And he just plops in there. And then you see all that lines up. And so I will manipulate one of my hose couplers onto here. And check back in with you guys and show you how that works. But I wanted to show you how you get that filter in and out, and where he was actually going to be sitting. He'll be probably adjusted like so once everything is done, and tightened down and all the brackets and everything installed. But I couldn't do it straight away because I had to manipulate the angle of this back and forth. All the stuff is fluid, and you will have to play with it. And you can see here, this is how this little bracket is in here, and this just drops down and locks it in place. And then we have this that runs through and retains it. I figured this is enough of a mess to have a poor mechanic have to deal with. But at least that's a little bit harder to lose than all those little pieces in that kit. This is what I converted to. See, this stainless. This is showing that I have the coupler underneath. I got the coupler, and then these are the stainless bands over the top. That was just for my memory. That I just didn't color this in, but it makes the red go away here. So then this is all stainless, you see. But that's essentially what I did from this, which was red, stainless, well, plastic up here, red there. You see how much more busy this is and all the extra joints? And I've just smoothed it down now so that literally the only joint is this bung. And if I really wanted to, I could conceivably, since this is a straight shot, buy another piece. There we go. Conceivably, I could get away with purchasing maybe a 13 to 14 inch piece. 12 inches is going to be too short. It's going to be pulling all of that back into the engine bay. And you want it further away, so I wouldn't go any smaller than 13, 14, thereabouts. And then you could just drill a hole and throw in a grommet for your airbox sensor and not even have to deal with any of this. That would eliminate one more joint. You're still going to have a curve, and you're still going to have curves. You're going to need a joint here and a joint here. But that would be the simplest outside of getting a K&N and getting an engine kit. So, but yeah, so that's where we are. I'll check back in just a minute. A little addendum here. As I'm putting this on, I'm running it all the way down, so it's literally just a hose clamps amount, you know, those larger hose clamps on this end sticking out. That way this is mostly down as a protection, the way this thing rests going through that hole. A little bit more vibration protection so I don't get metal on metal bouncing around or anything like that. So that's how I'm installing that. The others are all butted. Literally, the overlap across each joint it's just like this. That's how I was able to cut these in half. So these are just perfectly set on either side. So this is here, this is here. So boom, boom, butted up against each other. Here, because of this lump, obviously I couldn't do that. So, but yeah. Okay. Filter's in there. All that's tightened up. Went ahead and got all this together. Sorry, I just stepped around the tripod. Now I'm just tightening up this bottom of this bracket, as I showed you before. And I got to run that long screw and nut through. But yeah, this little nut actually locks right in there. And you run this piece through the back side. See, and he pops out. So that actually captures the nut. Sorry, hopefully y'all can see. So you can just kind of run this in with your fingers and capture it, and that actually holds it for you so that you can run your Allen 5 in there. Okay, see, that tightens everybody down. Only flopping I'm getting now is at the filter itself. Okay, I went and grabbed this. There was a leg down here and a piece that was in between. So basically I took an L out of it. And I put it down on this under section, like so, to cover up the raw edges and to lift the intake up ever so slightly. And then over here on this side where there was a gap, I added that little block. But you can see how I've split it to kind of cushion everything. Tucked all this in, and this should help stabilize the filter so it's not banging around into the fog light nor into that part that you see right there, the joint of the fender and the bumper. Trying to make sure that I have room between everybody so that nobody is hitting. Let's see, as of right now, as we're going down the road, vroom, vroom, vroom. Kidding, I'm trying to be funny. Anyway, I utilize the same type of stuff on the ECM here, where the intake and it were contacting each other. Now I'll attempt to come up with something prettier when I get some nicer foam. But for now, function over form, and then we're not hitting anymore. Can't tell, maybe y'all can. Are we hitting here? Nope, we're clear between the AC line and the intake, and it ain't moving. So we're not going to rub on the AC lines. We're not going to rub through the intake. We're not going to rub through the AC lines. Okay? So, ouch. That's where we are. Better. A lot less of the red to, yes, there's a whole bunch of red over here, but at least there's a lot less red to kind of, you know, distract you. All the red is minimized. All I have to do now that I've got all this set up the way I want it, the filter's angled properly, now I can go through and tighten all of these guys so that they'll hold their place. Okay, there we are, all buttoned up. And the reason I left all those pieces loose until I got this section done was the last thing you want to be doing is trying to fight something under. It's not really torque, but it is. You know, you're trying to twist on something and it won't move the way you want it to because everything's tight, and so it's holding in place. So if you have everything a little bit loose, then you're able to make some final adjustments and tweaks as you go. And somebody was mad because Mama's been out in the garage. She wanted to come see. She's not allowed to be loose outside. We don't do that in this house. We have indoor animals only. But she wanted to come see. She actually showed up from outside. Someone either dumped her or they got evicted and left her behind. I don't know. But yes, she's my little girl. She likes to get into everything. But she misses the fact that she used to be outside sometimes. So she asked to come out, so this is our compromise. Anyway, that's the end of the intake. I'll probably roll in a few pictures of what it looks like with the engine cover on it, but just wanted to share that with you guys. Okie dokes. If I think of anything, I'll add it at the tail end. Okay, here's the intake now with the cover on and everything polished up, looking nice. I may decide to put red in these. I haven't decided. I saw a couple cool designs with these engine covers online. I do need to clean it up, but I'm going to be driving it, so you know how that goes. It's going to get filthy before I have to take it to the Hot Wheels show anyway. But yeah, that's how everything fits, how the intake sits. Everything is in there nice and tucked up. So I think that's an improvement over how it was with all the red couplers going down the side. That makes it look a little bit more finished, like it was designed and not put together by a bunch of janky parts like what I initially did. All right, that is it. Engine is complete. Yes, I still have the headlight loose. That way you guys can see how everything fits in there. I will put that back together, but I did want to go ahead and swap out to the clears and smoke them, so that would be a more uniform look instead of the black. So I figured, what was the point in putting it all back together anyway? You can see my little horn down there too. But yeah, we're not hitting anything. We're clear. We're good to go, and we've got our hydro cover on, so yay, don't have to worry about hydro lock. And I've never had any issues with water intrusion anyway. It'd be quite the puddle to get it up in there. So I'm not super worried about that. So there you have it. All right, take care.